Hi, I'm Marcus with SpeakerMindMethod.com. So one of the biggest culprits for those of us who struggle with stuttering or blocking is anticipation, and more specifically, anxiety-provoked anticipation. For example, if I'm getting an oil change, let's say, and I'm checking out and they ask me for my phone number, what does my brain do? Well, it looks for sounds or words and it anticipates, oh, we stuttered on that last time we said it, let's do that again, right? That's what your brain does. And I've had this exact situation happen to me where I'm at, like an oil change, or I'm at a store, I'm checking out, and maybe they want to check if I'm part of their rewards program. So they ask me for my phone number. And so the first 3 digits of my phone number is 570. Now that 7, the S on that 7, my brain really likes to anticipate that. Now these days, I very rarely stutter when someone asks me for my phone number. But back in the day, a few years ago, that would be one of those very uncomfortable situations when someone would ask me outright for my phone number. Because as soon as someone asked me for it, my brain went, 7, you're gonna stutter on it. And so it was that anxiety-induced anticipation. And then, sometimes I would be fine, other times I would stutter, right? There was that very unstable unpredictability about it. Now, the tendency still is there sometimes, right? If I give my phone number, sometimes that little anticipation bug in the back of my head will still pop its head out and say, oh, you got a 7 coming up here in 570. But I've become so good at whenever I do have those glimpses of anticipation, I know how to navigate my way around them. So the most potent tool that I use for that is just word stretching. So I'll just go 570 and then I'm good the rest of the way. Or I might even use what I call softening the consonants. So I might switch the S on the word 7 to sound slightly more like a Z. So I might say it's 570, where I thought more like I was saying a Z, and it's almost like a hybrid between an S and a Z. Now I bring this up to say that to this day, I still use tools sometimes. I'll still use a little, stretch out my words because I might stutter otherwise, right? Or if I actually do hit a stutter for a split second, I stop myself, right? And I use what I call the hammer tool, which we'll get into in a second. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about and you want to learn more about tools and a whole lot more, and you want a step-by-step systematic plan to help you overcome stuttering, then my friend, I've got my free Stop Stuttering workshop, so I'll leave a link in the description below. Please do not leave this video. If you haven't watched it, if you haven't implemented it, now is your time, so be sure to go check that out before you head out. So that's it for the intro. Now let's dive in, and I'm going to share with you my top 3 approaches for solving the problem of anticipation. Approach number 1 to solve the anticipation problem is project confidence even when you don't feel it. This is going to feel very unnatural the first few times that you do this, right? And now what this looks like is when you're in a speaking situation or you're talking to somebody, wherever you are, whatever the situation is, and you start to stumble a bit, what will naturally happen is you'll shrink, right? You'll become very unconfident. You will and you'll project that as well, right? After you start to stutter on a couple words, you don't, stand there with a smile on your face and shoulders back and chest out. That's not a very natural thing to do, right? Instead, we shrink, we get all anxious and nervous. Now, I'm not saying don't be anxious and nervous, right? Because that's it's a natural response. But what I am saying is, on top of the anxiousness and the nervousness, you do have the ability to project confidence, and more specifically, project confident body language. So I want you to try this, but not just try it, actually make this a habit. There's no other way, my friend. When you get stuck, the only way to truly come out of it and to not let it get any worse is by remaining confident and keeping your body language positive. So next time you start to stumble a bit and stutter, don't project that, backing off type of scared, fearful vibe. Keep the confidence, keep the body language positive as if you didn't even stutter. And I know that that's way more easier said than done. And look, I'm not asking you to be perfect, right? But this is something I had to learn to do, and you need to learn to do as well. Remain confident, even when you don't feel it. Again, it's not that I'm telling you to not be anxious or not be nervous. But the more that you act confident, the more that your brain translates that as, oh, we're being confident now? Okay, we don't have to be as anxious anymore. We don't have to be as nervous anymore. Because the way that you act eventually becomes the way that you actually feel and the way that you actually are internally. So there's nothing wrong with beginning externally and then internalizing the confidence over time. Most people get this backwards. They think that if I don't feel confident, I can't act confident. And that's just not true. You do have the ability to act confident even when you don't feel it. So that is the first tip. That is the first approach that I want you to practice and learn. Approach number 2 for fixing the anticipation problem is build the skill of using the hammer tool. Now, I talk about the hammer tool quite a bit in my videos, so let me just do a quick run through of what the hammer tool is. So this is a very simple 4-step process. It is stop, breathe, rewind, and link. So an example of this is, let's go back to the example where you're at like an oil change place or you're at a store and they ask for your phone number. When I say 570 and I go 5, I don't push through the block. That is the antithesis of what we're trying to achieve here. You don't push through a block. That only makes things worse. That gives your brain another stutter memory. That's not helping anybody. You don't push through it. Instead, you go 5, you stop. So that's the first part. You stop yourself. Then what you do is you breathe. You reset. Breathe and then rewind. So just restart the phrase. Yeah, it's 5. And the final thing in this 4-step process, stop, breathe, rewind, and link. So link means you just kind of ride the wave and you link all the words together. You don't really allow there to be gaps in between the words. It's almost as if there are no spaces between the words. It's just one really long word. So again, if they ask me for my number and I go, oh yeah, it's 570 for, and so on. I almost gave you my phone number. So that's the hammer tool. You build the skill of stopping yourself, of not pushing through stutters, and then you rewind, you reset, you breathe, and then you link the words together. You ride that wave. That is what I call the hammer tool. Now, again, I'll give credit where credit is due. I got this from Michael Williams, who's a fantastic speech coach. He's the author of the Pro 90D speech system, so be sure to check that out. Did I just say author? I don't think author is the right way of saying it. That's for books, right? I think author is only to be used when you're writing books. Anyway, I guess he does have books, so I digress. So project confidence even when you don't feel it. Number 2 is build the skill of using a hammer tool. And then number 3 is focus on the person you're speaking to. This is a huge step for those of us who struggle or have struggled with stuttering. We have become so self-absorbed. And this is just the natural progression of things and naturally the way that things work because we're trying not to stutter. We're trying not to embarrass ourselves, right? And so we plan things. We try to escape stutters and escape blocks and navigate our ways through it. And so what ends up happening is we get so up in our heads that we forget to focus on the people that we're speaking to. And so this can feel like a subtle thing, like a bit of an abstract thing. Like you don't really know how to implement it and how to really make it a thing. But I want to encourage you to practice this. Focus on the person you're speaking to. This, like if you're speaking to a friend, ask them a question. Maybe ask more questions than you would normally do. Or just when you're sharing your ideas, don't focus so much on you. Focus on them, on adding value to this person that you're speaking to. You could even take this all the way down to like ordering at drive-thrus or, again, giving your phone number at like a store. Pretend that you're giving them value, even though you're not really adding that much value to them, but you can still position it like that, where you're adding value to this other person and let them be the recipient of what's happening, not yourself. So at the core of this is simply a mindset shift. You shift away from being so up in your head and you focus on the person you're speaking to. This is a game changer. Again, this is going to take time. You're not going to be perfect at this right away, but I want you to start practicing this and I want you to start implementing this into your speaking style and the way that you communicate with others. So, my friend, those are my top 3 approaches for solving the problem of anticipation. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you are finally ready to get a systematic step-by-step approach, then go check out my free Stop Stuttering workshop. This is an in-depth training that will walk you through how to stop stuttering, how to build your life of fluency and confidence and all those wonderful things. So what this workshop will do is help you achieve 90% fluency in as little as 6 weeks. So if that sounds attractive to you, go check it out. It is 100% free. I should be selling this for $200, $300, $400, $500. Like, it is that good. It is that helpful. So be sure to check it out before you leave. Thank you so much for watching, my friend. I'll see you next time.